All right, it is July 11, 2024. It is 1:02 p.m. And this is with regard to federal group stalking and monitoring that the Los Angeles Police Department, which is prosecution, as every time I'm documenting the stalking conduct, the terrorism and the harassment, the intimidation, the ongoing threat to my life by the Los Angeles Police Department, who are engaging in what is the hallmark of the state system, which is stalking, and in doing so through they're practicing demonic activity while they are stalking in helicopters, is a threat to my life. And so as I continuously document that, I want to make sure that I am making it abundantly clear that the state is group stalking with the people of the state. So this is evidence that's incriminating the people of the state. The state's not group stalking by itself. So the entity that's stalking in a helicopter is not helping its criminal co-conspirator. And you would think that criminals act one at another. Man, I won't rat you out, dog. I won't rat. When you're group stalking, you're telling on each other. It's the nature of the crime. And so the entity that's stalking in a helicopter is repeatedly presenting evidence against the people of the state. And so I want to make sure I document in this video. I will continue to list it on my what I maintain here on a daily basis. I'll do it for today, July 11th, regarding the light source, not only the light source, but the entity that is group stalking with the through the maintenance of the helicopter activity. And I'm starting this video at what is 1:02 p.m. because I want to recall what I documented yesterday, which was the 10th, when I left the property of Alvarado Gardens. I did not leave today. I remained at the property today. I'm inside of my apartment also. I'm going to document at 1:02 p.m. yesterday, the fake sun is leaving. And by leaving, I mean that. You see the fake sun remains over the top of my head, and you see there's documentation of a fake sun that's maintaining presence in an entirely different location in Ontario at the Paul Bryan Library, for example, seen through the window of that library. And then you're supposed to think that that's sunlight inside of that library. And actually, those are the demon possessed engaging in what is demonic pacing all around me inside of an environment where it's engineered light and a light source that's not characteristic of the sun or sunlight whatsoever. In that environment, the state is group stalking amongst the people. And that's where you get stalking in helicopters in that unnatural environment. And so this is already within the substance of the evidence that is referred to as what I've called it, the P.O.C. And so this is what you'll see yesterday at 1:02 p.m. as I am en route to the UPS store, if you'll recall, where the fake sun is over the top of the building of the UPS store and it's zenith at the top of my head. But let's be clear, at every step that I take, everywhere that I'm going, and this is also how you're exposing and prosecuting a government for being an exceedingly violent sex offender. This is the ongoing invasion of a corporate invasion of privacy by an entity engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring. The ongoing sex offense, every personal private moment is public information, while everything that you say and do, and that's also occurring on a communication device, is immediately published. You don't have any privacy, and that's a sex offense committed by a government. The government that is a stalker, that is in doing so stalking in a helicopter. It's analogous to a creepy stalker in a bush outside of your window, seeking to film you, seeking to record you while you're getting disrobed, while you're in the shower, while you're walking around your apartment nude, if that's what you feel like you want to do. Whatever it is that you're doing in your castle, it should be, and it's supposed to be, and we're all conditioned to think that it's private, and it's not. Okay, and that's a crime. I'm going to prosecute the government, the state of California, for it, and I'm simultaneously exposing the nature of demon possession, demonic activity as it's underway even by a government, and speaking to the demonic system, the presence of Satan, which you can witness through the unnatural environment, and demonic behaviors, which is speaking to the reality, the high-level deception, contrary to the things that you've been conditioned to accept. Oh, a demon-possessed person is somebody that's homeless, and they look dirty, they smell like they haven't washed in 72 days, and they're disheveled, and they're speaking gibberish, and they've got dirt smeared on the side of their face. That is not a demon possession necessarily. Yes, that person may very well be under, but it's not, first of all, depicted by their appearance. That has nothing to do with demon possession and how you are discerning and recognizing it. Okay, and Satan wants you to think that, and the demon possessed wants you to think that. They do not want you to recognize the spirit of Satan on them while they're wearing Michael Kors, while they're wearing a nice button-down suit, while they're working at a law firm, while they're sitting on a bench and engaging in what is federal group stalking and monitoring via obstruction of justice, kidnapping people, and while wanting it to appear like a good day of in the courthouse, and all they're doing is engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring, and they're demons, engaging in what is public corruption. those are the ones that are waiting to be removed from the positions, and who engaged in kidnapping me, they're going to federal prison, and they're continuously witnessing me expose them as I'm in Los Angeles, and the demon-possessed corrupt agency is acting in conformity to a statewide pattern of conduct, stalking in helicopters in an unnatural environment, doing a disservice to the rest of the demons who are going to be simultaneously prosecuted while they're acting in conformity to a specific P.O.C., as I refer to it, a pattern of conduct. So at 1:02 p.m., and I use that time also because yesterday, July 10, 2022, I was at the Montclair Plaza Mall. And the fake sun's at the top of my head in an entirely different region. So I used 1:02 p.m. while I'm on the freeway. This is what you'll see. And the people of the state are group stalking. 1:01 p.m. This is called crossing path while the sun is not over the Montclair Plaza in Montclair, California. The sun is not over Alvarado Gardens, like you're going to see now, and like I've already documented. The sun is seen directly over my head, as you can see through this demon's windshield of their vehicle, rear vehicle. This is called crossing path. It's called light activity creation also. While engineered light covers everything and they're moving around in that light, they also create light activity while they use their hazards, their lights, their turn signals, etc. It's light activity. This is state surveillance. And this is also where I've captured the demons stalking in helicopters. The system of surveillance is in motion wherever it is that I go. It is statewide surveillance and it's demonic activity. It is the prosecution of a corrupt government that's engaging in group stalking, but it's statewide surveillance. It's in concert necessarily, so the government can't keep you under surveillance without the people of the state. All right, so this is what I'm capturing at 1:01 p.m. on the freeway. The people of the state are keeping me surrounded, as opposed to this being ordinary traffic. And you know that because of the unnatural environment, which is deliberately there for that secret system that is underway. Okay, this is the light source that's over me through my sunroof on my vehicle when I am traveling on the freeway. So I'm getting the freeway signage so that you can see my location at 1:02. Oh, I'm on the 134 headed eastbound, passing the Colorado Boulevard freeway while the fake sun is remaining over the top of my head at 1:02 p.m. And I'm documenting crossing a path, group stalking on the roads and Highway 6W. XK743 is engaging in a very serious series of federal offenses, not only federal stalking on the venue of the internet, Title 18 criminal conduct, but they're also engaged in what is group stalking. You are stalking on behalf of being an agent of a government that's threatening the life of an American citizen that it intends to, by virtue of group stalking you, keeping you under surveillance in violation of your constitutional and human rights for no purpose other than to discard and remove that American citizen. Okay, this is why those that are seeking to and literally providing an admission where you are under any circumstances claiming ownership of my intellectual property, you're going to federal prison. And it is also the admission of the entity engaging in federal stalking in violation of Title 18. Like I said, as I stay inside of my apartment, as I am on my phone looking at my bank account, as I'm taking any screenshots, capturing any images of the impossible light activity inside of my apartment on my ceiling, as I'm capturing or recording any videos of demons stalking, flying and crossing path in helicopter, as I upload it to my Google Drive and not onto any website, the demon possessed are engaging in surveillance and they are stealing property while they are monitoring online. And while you have claimed any intellectual property, seeking to discard me and then taking ownership of what it is that I've created, you're going to federal prison for it. That's the threat to the life of an American citizen, where the government is seeking to discard you. And that's exactly what it is, a threat to your life, while the government is keeping you under surveillance for no lawful purpose other than to eradicate you altogether. Okay, and this is what the entity is doing. And so at 1:02 p.m., the fake sun is over me while I'm traveling. And as I go to, I'm showing you the big banks who are group stalkers: Chase, Wells Fargo. The entity is maintaining this light source while I am en route, and you're looking at Bank of America. These are the large banks where you're going to be told about financial calamity and things that they're trying to protect us against. This is a satanic system, and there is an inevitable conclusion here. You need to understand what is occurring, and it's not happening in a natural environment. Okay, so I just want to speak to, this is criminal activity. This is a state actor. This is a demon driving a fire truck who's group stalking with the rest of these demons who are in what is the specific environment that's maintained around me no matter where I go. It's 1:11 p.m. too. I want to make sure I document that. It's 1:10 p.m. when I'm capturing this fake sun as I've gotten off the freeway and then I get back on. This is pacing, demonic pacing, as opposed to ordinary traffic. This is the demon-possessed population that's engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring. And the big banks are fully engaged in that criminal system. This is why when I go to my bank, by the way, the people of the state are not separate from what the state is doing. They're flying over my bank in helicopter because that bank, which represents nothing other than the people of the state inside of a business establishment, are all demon-possessed, and they're engaged in the system as well. That's it. So while you are group stalking in helicopters, so are the people, and they're all going to federal prison along with you. Okay, so this is the light source that's over me, and I am documenting demonic pacing. This is terrorism. This is a threat to my life everywhere that I'm going, while the entity is maintaining a specific environment for purposes of keeping me under surveillance. All right, and as I stated, I started this video at 1:02 p.m. It's currently 1:12 p.m. And what you'll see, which is nowhere near a UPS, you're going to look at the rapid disappearance of the fake sun. But you know that it's right here as I capture it every single day. This is the reality of a demon-possessed population. This is the reality of what is real-time surveillance, a violation of Title 18. It's an ongoing admission because you already know what it is that I'm capturing. The entity that's engaged in criminal conduct is so surrounded, yet so psychotic. You still continue to engage in terrorism and stalking in helicopters, but yet you want to run and hide as that person that you thought that you were going to discard of captures it and documents it and exposes it to the world. That's speaking to what is enhancement to federal charges and prosecution. Okay, so the fake sun, here you go, light activity, because this is not the natural environment, and never is the sun going to be present outside of my living room window at the same address at 7 and 8 o'clock in the morning, and it's still here right above my head as I'm at the same apartment. So I want to be clear what it is that I captured as I walked into my apartment. It is indeed the same occasion, 12 o'clock in the afternoon. The entity is keeping the fake sun here as I'm documenting on an ongoing basis. It didn't go anywhere, and this is where the LAPD is flying over my apartment, vibrating my apartment, the same thing that it's doing while I'm inside of my office downstairs, and the fake sun is over me at my office down there, where it's not right now, and it's also not anywhere near a UPS store. It's not over anywhere near the 134 freeway. This is very exclusive sky space. This is only facing one direction. I cannot see where the 134 freeway and the sun, the so-called sun that you see above my head here, the light source is remaining here, and it's not simultaneously over there. That's why you don't see it over there. Okay, it's not simultaneously over the skyscrapers in downtown LA over there. That's why you don't see it over there. And that's why you never see it over there every time I hold my phone out and I'm showing you the fake sun that's right over the top of my apartment. This was just an hour ago, and I have captured for a prolonged period of time the maintenance of that which is not possibly the sun, while the people of the state engage in crossing a path, monitoring in plain sight. Those that don't even belong in this country, and they will be deported like the terrorists and sex offenders that they are. That's called impunity under a fake sun, and that's the same thing that LAPD does in helicopters, and that's exactly what you're going to punish, okay? This is what the entity is doing at 6 p.m., that same actor, standing and group stalking in the path while I am looking outside of my bedroom window, and this is a threat to your life, and that's why they're going to federal prison. This is P.O.C. All right, so I want to be clear, it's not a distraction. You're looking at who's going to federal prison with regard to Chase Bank when the entity is flying in circles over my bank, and then doing so while actively group stalking with impunity, okay? That is the quintessence of unworthiness to be in this country and engaging in it in plain sight. It is as life-threatening as stalking in helicopters, which is exactly what the entity is doing while you're maintaining that environment and doing so in a manner that is already heavily documented. There is no sun, in other words, that's going to be present over the UPS store where I am at Glendale and Lexington yesterday, and you have the light source that's right over me at this intersection. Oh, that's 1:15. That's the time it is right now while you're looking at Joan Kim, who is acting with impunity, crossing path, the audacity of a government to threaten your life in your face like that. That's what that's what the federal government is going to punish. And that impunity is on the account of every other third party that lives at Alvarado Gardens, and they're all going to federal prison. And they are demonstrating worthiness of it. This is a criminal act committed by the entire population. That is that same treacherous spirit that flies in circles over my office because they're engaged in Title 18 criminal conduct, and they know that my storage is temporarily full. So then that demon takes the occasion to fly in circles as opposed to dipping and dodging, as I've referred to it, trying to fly cross path rapidly, amplifying audible activity, rumbling the building while doing so, and then trying to avoid being caught on camera. Okay, so that is that treacherous spirit that just crossed path right now, walking on the sidewalk, walking upstairs, and is engaged in that same demonic system where I'm inside of the same apartment, and they are group stalking outside of my bedroom window while that fake sun is still here. And under no occasion would that ever be the natural environment where I'm showing you the fake sun over the UPS store, which is where I was at yesterday at 1:17 p.m. The light source is remaining here where Joan Kim is crossing path in plain sight, and that criminal conduct in the same way that the entity is crossing path at 1826 Lobdell Place this morning, and engineer light moves across that green gate, which is impossible light activity. It's also impossible light activity while you walk under a fake sun and engineer light, doing so with impunity. That's not going to be forgotten at your federal prosecution. You're also going to be mindful of the fact that the entity is engaged in surveillance with the government. This is relevant to how long you're going to federal prison. All right, tracking every step. These are communication devices done for the purposes of surveillance by the state. This is not a private individual exercising no private rights whatsoever. You're group stalking at a facilitating venue, and you do so with impunity. You cross path right in the face. This is why you live at a crime scene, by the way. And because you're so devoted, because you act with such impunity and malice, you're going in a cage, and then you're going to be deported to whatever country you came from. Okay? It is, again, the quintessence of demonstrating your unworthiness to be here and the threat that you are to the public. And I want to be clear, you're dealing with, I'm revealing demon possession. So it's not just the criminal conduct of that person. You're dealing with a spirit, a demonic spirit. That treacherous spirit lies in the population. It lies within Karen Bass. It lies within the demons of the Los Angeles Police Department. It lies within the corrupt leadership. That is Dominic Choi. You're dealing with demons, and you're going to prosecute that. And you're also going to remove and neutralize that threat by punishing and removing, making an example out of, and removing any ability for that darkness to hide anywhere. That's the purpose of the P.O.C, the documentation. It's the purpose of prosecution. It's the purpose of worldwide news regarding what Satan is doing amongst the government and a people, so that it is not capable of being maintained as a secret under any circumstances. Every aspect of that prosecution, every aspect of the punishment needs to be known. This is a part of remedying what is, and part of the rehabilitation when you're dealing with this massive size of public corruption. I want to be clear. These are the people of the state that live at the property, and that same impunity that Joan Kim is demonstrating, every last person is engaging in group stalking with her. In the same way that the entity is group stalking in helicopter, every last person that lives at Alvarado Gardens is acting with impunity with that entity. This is light activity created on behalf of the entity. That's crossing a path that's engaged in concert with everyone that's a part of that entity. Where you live at the crime scene, you're going to federal prison for it. Where you work at the crime scene, such as speaker companies, as you see Carla Lopez heavily documented group stalking, the fake sun is still over me at the same property. Where you're working at the facilitating venue, group stalking with the government, and he's heavily documented, as are the rest of speaker companies, heavily documented group stalking with the LAPD. They're all going to federal prison. Every single last one of them. That's speaking to what is impunity and malice, which is directly addressed at federal prosecution. And it will not be missed before a federal judge when this crime committed by a state is put underneath your name. That's the only point where it will be individualized. And all of that impunity is going under your name, and you're going to serve the consequences for it. This is why you don't rob banks with other people. If you're going to engage in a crime, I don't advocate it whatsoever, but you certainly don't want to engage in a crime with somebody that you know is mentally unstable, because what they do, you're going to be held accountable for it. This is justice. This is flipping the malice of federal group stalking and monitoring on its head. Okay, so the entity is maintaining a fake sun, and just to be clear, like I said, the entity that is engaged in surveillance is group stalking and is engaged in what is impunity, and is so desperate to engage in what is a futile act. This is a demon. Let me be clear. Joan Kim is a demon-possessed third party. Let me be clear. Demon possession, you have the spirit of a sex offender on you. The demon-possessed have the spirit of a psychopath, the spirit of a rapist, the spirit of a thief, of a stalker. That's what's so serious about demon possession. That is the root for this criminal system that I'm exposing for federal group stalking and monitoring. This psychopath that is demon possessed and is engaging with her own volition, crossing path on behalf of an entity, group stalking, posing an impermissible threat to the face of that target individual, and doing so also engaged in federal stalking. Let me be clear. The entity is doing so while in an unmistakable environment where it is also going to be juxtaposed with a specific environment in an entirely different region. In addition to that, they do so while they are admittedly engaging in criminal conduct and seeking to exact revenge. I want to make sure I translate, and also I'm analyzing legally what is reasonably construed through the pattern of conduct. Okay, so I'm giving legal analysis for how you're going to prosecute any stalker. But I want to be clear, I'm going to interpret this demonic behavior for you. This is a demon. Instead of doing so by helicopter, the demon just walks by and crosses path, group stalks in my face. That's the significance of Joan Kim walking on the sidewalk and walking upstairs into her apartment. It's crossing path and light activity creation while my voice is audible activity. And all of the entity is literally on the edge of their seats listening to me expose them and prosecute them again. And so this is that act of retaliation. That's a life-threatening act with the intent and reasonably construed as an act to intimidate the ordinary targeted individual who is subject to 25/8 intimidation by demons who are engaged in group stalking on an ongoing basis. Okay, it's not based on the fact that she's like 5'3". It's not based on the fact that she can barely speak any English. It's not based on the fact that I may be able to or not able to physically overwhelm her, okay, and have no problem physically defending myself. That's not what you're prosecuting. That's not what you're analyzing. That's not how you're determining any reasonable threat posed by the stalker. The stalker is the state. The stalker is group stalking with the people of the state. The stalker is acting through 5'4" non-English speaking Korean Americans like Joan Kim, in addition to 10-year-olds and 15-year-olds and little 3-year-olds who are engaging in the elements of monitoring. And while they are wielding weapons and kidnapping and engaging in criminal defamation and making up fictitious charges to kidnap you so that they can keep you in a facility and group stalk you and terrorize and psychologically torment you and keep you in a facility, and then steal your intellectual property so they can just remove you altogether from existence, that's the threat that you're faced with. That's the government, not Joan Kim, the individual. And that is an act of retaliation in the same way it is where the demons stalk in a helicopter. Understand that. That's also reasonably construed through the pattern of conduct where the state is group stalking with the people. But I want to make sure that I point that out to you. That's the interpretation for what that demon just foolishly did on camera, and she did it on behalf of the whole entity. Okay, what Satan is going to learn is that not only you're going to learn to watch your mouth, you're going to learn to make sure you're out of sight. You will no longer engage in directly threatening the life of an American citizen and then think that you're going to walk away. You're just going to walk away from that. No, you are not. You're delusional. And you're going to be placed in mental facilities for the mind state that is highly deranged, which you exhibit through your criminal conduct, which I am continuously documenting in 2024. So I want to make sure that I'm getting the presence of the light source, because I get it on a daily basis. So get something at or around 1300 hours, which I'm doing on a daily basis, where the light source is remaining over Alvarado Gardens, remaining over my apartment. So here we go. We've got over my apartment building. This is right over the edge of my apartment building, and this is, what is this? April 10th, 2024. I'm walking from my apartment clearly, and the light source remains over me. I'm right at my apartment building, and this is as I'm walking, and I'm going back to my office. So this is the P.O.C. Let me show this. Here we go. This is my apartment building right here, and it looks like 1:13 p.m. As I've documented on plenty of occasions, this is just me going through my phone and just looking up a random time around 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm documenting this on a daily basis. And so the absence of the light source, meaning the suddenly cloudy day, that is the audience that I have who are filled with the demon possessed, who are violent sex offenders. They're also an audience when I'm physically disrobed, when I'm washing my nude body, when my genitalia is exposed, and they're pacing around being sex offenders, which Joan Kim is a documented sex offender, pacing around in the staircase, where her walking up and down the stairs is not going to create any earthquake. All right, it's occurring while I'm simultaneously touching my person. That's the sex offender that wants to, let's amplify audible activity when she's touching herself now. Let's do it now, while demons know exactly what you're doing, where you're at, which you also know. You deduce it from the unnatural environment. You're deducing it from the criminal conduct, the elements of monitoring as they happen, where they're targeted, with regard also to what I'm doing on a communication device. That same sex offender is the one that's crossing path. That is a threat on multiple levels. And that is not speaking to just her, that's the whole state, okay? And I want to be clear, the entity is maintaining a light source as I conclude this video, where entity is keeping a fake sun all day long at Alvarado Gardens, and there's a whole body of evidence speaking to the fact that that is a scientific impossibility, not only because it's still here where Joan Kim is foolishly placing herself on camera, where you're looking at the evidence of a fake sun. You still live at the property at the end of the day, Joan Kim, and you're going to federal prison for living at a crime scene, where the state's engaging in surveillance. This is the short-minded. checker-based mindset of demons who are group stalking. This is the reality of what is demonic activity. This is the criminalization of that demonic activity that a government is practicing. And on this day in 2022, the entity is keeping a fake sun over me as I'm documenting. So I've got the light source as I capture it going into the library. Looks like I'm at the Ovid Family Community Library. The Ontario Police Department is group stalking, heavily documented group stalkers and kidnappers. This is the fake sun that is at 10:52 in the morning over the top of my head at the entrance of the Ovid Family Community Library, where I have heavily documented this fake sun is still present at the end of the day at the same address at the Ovid Family Community Library, where I was kidnapped on more than one occasion by the demon-possessed and the corrupt agency, the Ontario Police Department. And let me be clear, the Los Angeles Police Department are the same entity who are to date still stalking in helicopters in that remarkable environment where the fake sun, as opposed to the natural environment, and the sun, which would not be present at one address for the duration of the day. And it also doesn't have this pattern of being over the top of my head, rising and setting in alignment to wherever I'm located. That specific environment are where demons that make up terrorist organizations and not law enforcement agencies are engaging in state surveillance with the people of the state who are crossing paths. That's the grounds of federal prison. That's what John Kim is facing for systematic facilitation, living at a crime scene. And she does so with audacity, walking, being seen on camera. That's the heights of foolishness. Would you engage in robbing a bank on camera? Would you engage in doing so on surveillance cameras when you know that those cameras are there? Or don't bank robbers, don't they put shaving cream, or they have some sort of maneuver where they intend to avoid being identified? The demon-possessed population that engages in criminal conduct that it cannot avoid, that it voluntarily does, like Joan Kim does, is under no circumstances the suggestion of innocence or ignorance. You're looking at what is a mental state, a deranged mind state that's a threat to my life, okay, while they're engaging in criminal conduct as a corrupt entity. There is never getting around the fact that the sun is not remaining stationary over one address for the duration of the day, and it's also not going to be present over the Ovid Family Community Library as I'm documenting on an ongoing basis. I'm at the library. The entity is maintaining this light source, stalking in helicopters. That's the same demons of the Ontario Police Department where a fake sun remains over me. This is the same library at 2:43 in the afternoon. You know where the fake sun's going to be today? Right over me at the Alvarado Gardens apartments in Los Angeles, where a fool like Joan Kim is engaging in very serious criminal activity on behalf of a whole entity. And that whole entity is going to answer under the law. Just because you have not anticipated nor because you cannot fathom in your mind how the Lord Jesus would provide justice at that size does not mean that it's not happening. First of all, let me correct myself. It does not mean that it's not already complete. You are going to experience it in the natural. So this is the fake sun that's over me at 3 o'clock in the afternoon at the same Ovid Family Community Library where the entity is stalking in helicopters. This is what the LAPD is doing on an ongoing basis. So I want to make sure I include in this video where Joan Kim is group stalking on behalf of a corrupt law enforcement agency, threatening my life in doing so. Did so this morning as I documented on video, and also I documented while I am publishing my podcast onto the venue of the internet, the entity that is engaged in surveillance flying over my apartment at 12:19 p.m. where the fake sun remains directly over my apartment at 12:27 p.m. where this fake sun remains over my apartment. And then there is this whole body of evidence that I'm referencing that the light source is an entirely different region, which is the body of evidence. This is the insurmountable and irreducible evidence of not only demon possession, demonic activity that's practiced by government, teaching and speaking to what is the reality of demon possession and how you're recognizing demonic behavior. It's significant in the environment where it's happening. And demons desperately Satan wants to desperately blend in, wants to appear normal, wants to go unsuspected, okay? But what I'm pointing out more and more is, and what you'll recognize, there's nothing normal about this heavy helicopter activity. There's nothing normal about it. There's nothing normal about flying in circles outside of my apartment for 47 minutes. There's nothing normal about that. This is what I mean with regard to the outright departure from what's supposed to appear as the passive aggressive stance of the demons who are engaged in state surveillance. Okay, so this is speaking to that deranged mindset. You're so obsessed, you're so hostile, you're so psychotic, you are now playing into my hands. All I have to do is roll the camera because Satan has begun telling on itself. And I reference Satan in that regard on purpose, itself. You have a bunch of minions that are engaged in criminal conduct, and this system is rapidly imploding. And that is nothing other than testimony of the protection. If you do not know the Lord Jesus Christ, I suggest that you meet him in a personal relationship. The Lord is good. He has permitted this to happen to me, not because of his absence or because of his negligence, but because he intends to speak out about what is going on in this country. It needs to be known what's going on in this country, and it is demonic. It is the work of Satan. But that is under no circumstances suggesting that God is not on his throne. He's on the throne right now, and he's demonstrating it. And the prosecution of the state of California is nothing other than a mere symptom of it. Okay? The Lord God is real. Jesus Christ is real, and he's coming back, and he's coming back in judgment. And he has avenged me, protected my life, and has also demanded that I speak to what he's doing in my life, and also speak to the reality that many need to repent. This is a time for you to repent. This prosecution, this exposure, the secrets that you are living in, the darkness that you exist in, it's a call to repentance. So anyway, it's currently 1:32 p.m. It's July 11, 2024. This is documentation of the P.O.C. It's a sex offense while I'm in my apartment. It's a sex offense while I'm in the workplace, but I'm just speaking to the entity that's engaged in the P.O.C. And as I've shown, the entity that is engaging in ducking and dodging in helicopters does the same thing with the fake sun that you see subdued, if you will, because the fake sun remains there, and then remains present as I'm capturing every other day, where I am, you see the fake sun that remains over me at this same address until the end of the day. So let's just be clear what the entity is doing on a daily basis, covering up the fake sun right now while I'm dipping my phone out so you can see it in the sky space above me. No one is forgetting about the so-called sunset that's present in alignment to me in the evening, every evening. This is not sunlight that's on my ceiling while a fake sun remains in alignment to my bedroom window. This is what's occurring day in and day out. This has nothing to do with sunlight. This is occurring in the evenings, okay? 5:08 p.m. The fake sun is still in alignment to my apartment. This is where a fool like Joan Kim, okay? She needs Jesus. She needs to repent. But she's going to be prosecuted, and she's going to be deported out of this country. And I pray that she finds Christ as that she goes through that process. But I want to be clear. This is a fool that will provide this level of evidence to the prosecutor. That's a fool. You're on camera engaging in criminal conduct, and you're doing so in an environment where the fake sun is still present. This is readily identified, and the federal government will surely recognize and prosecute accordingly. I mean, it's going to be on a strict liability basis. Okay, so anyway, it's currently 1:34 p.m. This is P.O.C.